This has been going on for about 2 years now. The Heritage Foundation, which is a think tank in Washington, has really got their teeth into this. I think they feel that Prince Harry's been treated differently from other people who've applied for visas to stay in the States. And the latest deposition they put is a 13-page motion which they've lodged with the court a couple of days ago, saying that certain documents that were provided by the Biden administration weren't discussed in court or weren't made public, and they're trying to get those looked at again. And it's a little bit technical, but basically, I think they're trying to keep this going because we've got the US election coming up in just a couple of weeks' time. And of course, if Donald Trump gets back in, that could be bad news for Harry and Meghan because he is very much anti them. I think that's fairly well documented that they don't like him and he doesn't particularly like them. And I think up until now, Harry's very much had the protection of the Biden administration, the Democrats, who we all probably believe that Meghan supports. So I think the judgments that have been made up to now possibly have been politically motivated in that sense. And so I think he will fear that if Donald Trump does get back in, his visa application will be looked at again, especially in view of his admission in his autobiography Spare that he did take drugs. And normally, if anyone admits to taking drugs, they're supposed to say that on their visa application. And we don't know whether Harry said that or not because it was kept secret. A judge decided in September that he had a right to privacy. So we don't know what he declared, which drugs he admitted taking, and whether that was a factor in his visa application. But at the moment, he's hanging on a bit by the skin of his teeth. It's the sort of thing which, if it goes the other way, it might push him back into coming back to the UK. Well, I don't think Harry and Meghan want to come back to the UK. That's fairly obvious. I don't think Meghan, if she had her way, would set foot again in this country, to be honest. I think she knows she's fairly unpopular. I think she's sort of burnt too many bridges. What makes it difficult, of course, is the children. It means that Archie and Lilibet are growing up in America, not seeing the King and not seeing their cousins. They've lost Frogmore Cottage, of course, which was their home at Windsor. And on his fleeting visits that he's been over recently, Harry's been staying in hotels as opposed to royal residences. So it's difficult to know where he'd go. And as I say, I don't think Meghan would be keen to come back to the UK. So buying this place in Portugal, if these stories are correct that they bought a place near to Princess Eugenie and her husband Jack Brooksbank in this sort of very smart area near Lisbon, where a lot of people seem to be moving, that would give them a European base and would enable him to come and go to the UK, fairly frequently, to do his Invictus Games duties and to do all sorts of other things. So I think that's part of the reason that they've got this place in Portugal, so that they can have a base in Europe. It's very difficult sometimes to know what's going on in Harry's mind. Some people say he looks very unhappy in America. Some people say he looks blissfully happy. You sort of pays your money and takes your choice, really. It's very difficult to know. I think he's definitely been showing in recent weeks and months that he does want to come back to the UK and see some of his old friends, build some bridges again, and long term possibly make it up with his family. I can't see that happening in the short term. I certainly can't see it happening quite possibly for many, many years with his brother Prince William. I don't think he's going to be welcome there. But possibly with the king, it might be sooner rather than later. But it's very difficult to know. At the moment, he looks like he's sort of trying to do a lot of things separately from Meghan. He's trying to do charity work and go back to some of the things where he is popular, like the World Child events he was at the other week, the Invictus Games, going out to Lesotho for the Centre Bali charity. Things like that. He's clearly decided that he wants to sort of fly solo with some of those sort of things. And do things separately from Meghan. But what it means in terms of them settling down anywhere, to be honest, is anyone's guess.